What happens when your heart stops beating, your final breath slips away, and you suddenly find yourself standing, looking at your own body? This is the story of someone who went to the edge of death and returned. The Flame of Fate. David Miller woke up at 5 a.m., as usual. His small apartment was in a quiet neighborhood in Brooklyn, where the sound of car horns and the rumble of subway wheels from afar echoed like the familiar background music of New York City. He sat up on the old wooden bed, the dim light of dawn seeping through the curtains, casting over a face lined with the marks of time. He turned to the side. His wife, Sarah, was still fast asleep. Her brown hair lay tangled across the pillow, her face carrying traces of fatigue, yet peaceful. Seeing her, David smiled faintly. He always wondered why a woman like Sarah chose to stay with a firefighter like him. A job full of danger, without fixed hours, and every time stepping out the door meant the possibility of never returning. In the small room next door, Lily, his 8-year-old daughter, was sleeping soundly, clutching a pink teddy bear. David stepped in gently, sat down by the bed, and kissed his daughter's soft hair. Lily's childish breath carried the faint scent of candy, soothing his heart. "Daddy will be home soon," he whispered, though knowing she could not hear. In the kitchen, the aroma of hot coffee spread as David turned on the machine. The dripping sound blended with the radio's morning news. Today's temperature is forecast to be unusually high, humid, and sultry. Citizens are advised to limit going out if unnecessary. He put on his firefighter uniform, straightened the name tag Miller on his chest. This heavy jacket, to others a burden, to him was a symbol of responsibility, of the oath to save lives at all costs. Sarah woke up as he was tying his shoelaces. She stepped out, still drowsy, her voice hoarse. "You're on duty again today?" "Yeah, but hopefully it'll be quiet," David reassured with a smile, though deep down, he knew there was never truly a quiet day for a firefighter. Sarah came closer, resting her hand on his shoulder. "Take care of yourself. Lily and I need you." David nodded, kissed her forehead lightly, and left the house. The morning breeze blew past, carrying the damp smell of the city after last night's rain. Fire station. Number 47 was David's second home. As he walked in, the loud laughter of his teammates filled the air, the smell of donuts and cheap coffee lingering throughout the room. The men here were like brothers. They had shared fierce blazes together, burns, and countless close brushes with death. Mike, David's closest comrade, waved from the dining table. "Another day hot as hellfire, buddy. Let's hope the flames don't pay us a visit." David chuckled and sat down. He and Mike had stood side by side for more than 10 years, saving dozens of lives together, and had also witnessed teammates gone forever. The morning passed slowly. David and the others checked hoses, oxygen tanks, tested alarms, everything under strict procedures. To him, this meticulousness was not just duty, but the lifeline between survival and death. When the clock struck 3 p.m., the sultry heat had worn everyone out. The ceiling fan clattered, sweat soaking through their shirts. Suddenly, the alarm blared, shattering the stillness. "Major fire at apartment building number 14 Riverdale Street. People trapped inside." No one said a word. All sprang into action. Each man put on the heavy protective gear, cumbersome like steel armor. David felt the thick fabric press against his body, the familiar smell of rubber and sweat. His heart pounded, but only one thought remained in his mind: save lives. The fire truck roared through the streets with sirens wailing. Through the window, David saw the city stretching. Crowded rows of houses, people turning to watch as the truck sped past, harsh sunlight glinting on the burning asphalt. At the scene, it looked like true hell. Bright flames devoured the lower floors of the old apartment building. Thick black smoke billowed into the sky, the acrid stench of burning wood mixing with the screams, cries, and the crackling of shattering glass. The air was so dense that each breath seemed to swallow ashes into the lungs. David and his team quickly set up hoses. Strong streams of water blasted into the flames, but they only seemed to enrage it more. The fire roared, spitting sparks. A woman with disheveled hair, her face streaked with tears, rushed over, gripping David's hand tightly. "My daughter." "She's still inside, on the 4th floor. Please save her." David looked straight into her desperate eyes, saying nothing but nodding firmly. He rushed inside. The heat inside was different altogether. Scorching air lashed at his face like fire itself, sweat bursting instantly, mixing with smoke that stung his eyes. The crackle of flames sounded like thousands of firecrackers, wooden beams groaning, ready to collapse. David pulled his breathing mask over, inhaling the icy synthetic air. He groped his way up the stairs, his dim flashlight beam cutting through the haze. Suddenly, he heard a faint, weak cry somewhere ahead. His heart clenched. Following the sound, he found a little girl about 6 years old, clutching an old doll, tears in her eyes. She trembled, coughing harshly from the smoke. David crouched down, his voice gentle through the mask. "It's okay. I'm here to save you. Hold on tight to me." The girl nodded, clinging to his neck. He wrapped a wet blanket over them both and tried to make his way toward the fire escape. But just as he stepped down, a deafening crash thundered. Part of the ceiling collapsed right before them, smoke and flames flaring up to block the way. David stepped back, his heart racing. In that instant, he heard the groan of metal above. Then, a massive explosion tore through the air. The entire floor shook, the blast flinging him and the girl backward. He only had time to clutch her tightly, shielding her with his body. A chunk of concrete came crashing down, striking his shoulder with searing pain that numbed him. His ears rang, vision blurred. In the final moment before darkness swallowed him, he had only one thought. "Sarah, Lily, I'm sorry." And then everything sank into nothingness. When the soul leaves the body. The explosion just now seemed to have torn David's world apart. He thought he had fallen into an endless void, cold, dark, heavy. But then, suddenly, that heaviness dissolved. He no longer felt the weight of the concrete pressing on him, no longer the searing pain ripping through his shoulder. David opened his eyes, and he was stunned. Before him, the fire still raged, thick black smoke billowing up to the cracked ceiling. But something was different. His body was still there, motionless on the ash-covered floor. His arms were still wrapped tightly around the little girl, her small frame trembling beneath the scorched blanket. David gaped. He wanted to scream, to reach out and pull the child up. But as he bent down, his hand passed right through his own body. A chilling current ran through him, or rather, through his soul. He was horrified to realize he had left his body. The fire alarm blared from afar, but now the sound seemed muffled behind a thick veil. Every noise was distorted, distant. Yet, strangely, David sensed everything more vividly than ever. He could hear the frantic heartbeat of the little girl, the sobs caught in her throat. He smelled the acrid smoke, but it no longer choked him. Instead, the smoke unfurled like wisps of mist drifting in the air. The smell of burning wood, the stench of charred rubber, all seemed to merge into a strange symphony of scents. Orange-red light from the flames flickered on the walls, like thousands of demons dancing. And yet, amidst that chaos, another light began to appear. A gentle, pure white radiance quietly flooded the scene, erasing the fire, veiling the horror. David looked up. The light did not come from the flames, nor from any lamp. It came from an opening above, like a doorway parting in the smoke. From that place, a stillness poured down, calming the panic in his heart. In that moment, David felt his body grow lighter, so light it seemed he could float upward. Looking down, he saw himself slowly drifting, pulling away from the lifeless figure on the floor. A wave of fear ripped through him. "No, I can't go. There's Sarah, there's Lily. I can't leave them behind." He struggled to hold on, to return to his body, but the harder he tried, the more he was pulled upward, as if an invisible hand was guiding him toward that light. In the hazy expanse, images flashed before his eyes, too fast to follow, yet each detail painfully clear. He saw himself as a 6-year-old boy, running around his grandmother's yard, the smell of wet grass after rain rich in the air. He heard his mother's voice calling from the kitchen, gentle as a lullaby. He saw his father, gone since David was 10, sitting beneath a maple tree, smiling kindly and waving. Next, he saw his wedding day. Sarah in a white dress, her face radiant in the afternoon sun. He heard soft music, friends' laughter, felt the trembling as he slipped the ring on the hand of the woman he loved. And then he saw the moment Lily was born. Her first cry tore through the hospital room, small yet filled with life. He remembered the sharp scent of antiseptic, the faint sweetness of baby milk. He remembered holding her for the first time, those clear eyes opening, as if peering straight into his soul. The memories rushed on like a fast-forwarded film reel. Each moment cut into him like a blade, sweet yet agonizing. He wanted to clutch them all, but they slipped away, dissolving into the light. Then David heard a voice, not from outside, but resonating within his mind. Warm, gentle, yet full of power. You have lived a full life, but you still have a choice. You may remain in this light, or return. David's heart trembled. He wanted to ask, return how? I'm trapped under rubble. I've already died. But before the words formed, a familiar figure appeared, his father. He stood there with a kind smile, deep eyes. He opened his arms as if to embrace him. A faint trace of tobacco drifted by, that familiar scent David hadn't known for decades. My son, his father's voice was warm. It's peaceful here. No more pain, no more tears. If you wish, you may stay with me. David choked. His heart surged with longing to hold his father again, to make up for the lost years. But at that very moment, another image appeared. Sarah, kneeling, collapsed at the doorway, her eyes swollen red, trembling hands clutching the phone to call the hospital. Lily, his daughter, sobbing as she hugged her teddy bear, asking over and over, Mom, is Daddy coming home? He promised. His heart clenched. I can't, Dad, I can't leave them. Sarah needs me. Lily needs me. My task isn't finished. His father smiled, eyes glistening yet tender. My son, the choice is yours. But remember, if you return, there will be pain. There will be trials. You must endure it all. Are you sure? David looked down, where his body still lay motionless under the blazing fire, where the little girl still trembled in his powerless arms. And he knew he had his answer. Return to the body. David stood in the gentle white light, where pain had vanished, where his father's warm arms were open wide. But the image of Sarah weeping silently, the image of Lily calling his name in despair, pierced his heart like a blade. He knew clearly his heart could not abandon them. He drew in a deep breath, or rather, an effort to cling to existence, then said within his mind, firm yet trembling, Father, I must go back. I cannot leave them. His father's eyes glistened. No sorrow, no anger, only a profound understanding. He placed a hand on David's shoulder, warmth flowing through him unlike anything he had ever known. Go, my son. Keep living. Love with all your heart. We will meet again. When the time comes. As the words faded, the light around David trembled. The entire space swayed, as if someone had pulled hard on the curtain of life. An invisible force drew him back toward the darkness. David fell. The feeling of freefall ripped his whole being apart. Serenity vanished, replaced by crushing weight on his chest. He heard ambulance sirens blaring, someone shouting, Hurry! Cardiac arrest. A stabbing pain shot through his chest, so fierce he wanted to scream. It felt as if his ribs shattered, his chest crushed. Breath caught, the remnants of black smoke in his lungs seared his throat. The smell of antiseptic, the metallic tang of blood, the stench of scorched fabric, all rushed in at once, twisting his stomach. Third defibrillation. Stand by. A doctor's voice rang out. A jolt of electricity surged through his body, burning every fiber with agony. His whole frame convulsed, eyes squeezed shut. David cried out unconsciously, but no one heard. Heartbeat restored. Quick, stabilize his breathing. Shouts overlapped. Footsteps pounded on the cold floor, all blending into a chaotic symphony. David opened his eyes. The hospital ceiling light blazed painfully bright. He tried to move, but his body felt strapped down. His throat was parched, every breath like blades cutting through. Beside him, Sarah sat. Her eyes were swollen from tears. Her trembling hand clasped his tightly. When she saw his eyes flicker, she broke into sobs, pressing her face against his palm. David, oh God, you're awake. You've come back. Her hot tears fell on his skin, soaking in like a warm fire, banishing all the cold. He wanted to say something, but only hoarse sounds escaped. Sarah leaned close quickly. "Don't speak, love. Just rest." "I'm here. Lily's waiting too." David closed his eyes, tears slipping from the corners. In his heart, the image of that gentle light and his father's embrace remained vivid. But he knew the choice he had made was right. The first day after waking, his body hurt so much he thought he couldn't endure. Broken bones, burns, damaged lungs. Every breath was torment, yet strangely, within each moment of pain, his heart felt light. He lived. He still had the chance to love Sarah. He still had the chance to watch Lily grow. And above all, he still had the chance to keep fighting, to keep saving lives. Many nights afterward, when the nurses had left, David would stare at the cold white ceiling, memories of the other world flooding back. He remembered the light, his father's voice, the indescribable peace. And then he wept, not from fear, but from knowing that life, from now on, would never again be the same. A new life. The days in the hospital passed slowly. Every night, David struggled with stabbing pains that tore through his body. Broken bones, damaged lungs, made every breath a battle. But at his bedside, Sarah was always there. She never left him for even a moment. Her eyes were shadowed, her hands calloused from holding his through endless nights. "You have to be strong, David," she whispered, her voice trembling. "You came back to me and Lily. You can't leave us again." David squeezed his wife's hand, his heart choking with emotion. He wanted to speak of the light, of his father, of the things he had seen. But each time he opened his mouth, his throat rasped, only hoarse gasps escaping. Sarah just smiled, pressing her hand to his chest. "Don't speak. I believe, no matter what you went through, you've come back, and that's enough." After many weeks, David's body gradually recovered. He learned to walk again on shaky legs, to breathe deeply though his chest still ached. Each step felt like a small victory, and he knew this second chance at life had not come easily. One afternoon, when Lily was allowed into the room, she ran straight into his arms. The little embrace, her warmth, brought tears streaming down his face. "Daddy, I thought you weren't coming back." Lily's voice choked. David held her tight, his face buried in her hair, sweet with the scent of milk. "I'm sorry, my princess. I promised I'd come back, and I'll never let you be that afraid again." In that moment, he understood. The reason he had returned was here, not only because of duty as a firefighter, but because he was a husband, a father, and that love was stronger than death. As his health improved, David began to share his story. At first, many thought it was just hallucination, reflections in the throes of death. But the way he spoke, his eyes, the breaking in his voice when he spoke of the light and his father's embrace, brought many to tears. "I'm not afraid of dying anymore," David said during a gathering with colleagues, "but because of that, I cherish life even more. I've seen the other side. I know there's a peaceful place. But I chose to stay because here are family, love, responsibility. If there's one thing I learned from that experience, it's this: every moment we live is a gift." The room fell silent. Men who had once braved flames without flinching, men thought never to cry, quietly wiped their eyes. From that day on, David was no longer the same. He was no longer just a brave firefighter, but became a symbol of resilience and faith. He joined sharing sessions, telling his story to those who had lost hope. He visited cancer patients, telling them, "Don't be afraid. Death is not what's frightening. What's frightening is missing the chance to love while still alive." Sarah looked at her husband, her eyes shining with pride. Lily grew up in warm arms, always knowing her father was the man who once crossed the boundary of life and death, only to return to keep his promise to her. Many years later, on a peaceful afternoon, David sat on the porch, watching Lily play in the garden. The golden sunlight spread like a shimmering carpet, the scent of lavender drifting in the breeze. He closed his eyes, and once more, the image of that gentle white light appeared. His father's voice echoed in memory. "Keep living, love with all your heart." David smiled. He knew that one day, when the final moment truly came, he would step through that light again. But this time, he would walk in peace, for he had lived a full life, loved with all his heart, and kept his promise to those dearest to him. David chose to return, to continue loving and keeping his promise to his family. If it were you, would you have the courage to come back from the light to keep living? Share your thoughts in the comments. And don't forget to follow Afterlife Mystery to hear more stories that touch the heart.